everybody! Today I have a bookshelf tour for you, and I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One, because I just hit 100 subscribers recently, which is a small milestone on YouTube, but I'm super excited about it. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and welcoming me even though I'm brand new at this. It really means the world that you're actually liking my content enough to keep coming back. That is amazing. So thank you so much for that. I figured a good way to kind of celebrate this milestone would be to show you finally what's on my lovely shelf behind me. Also, I wanted to do this now because I'm moving back into college very soon. In fact, by the time you're watching this, I'll have already moved in. I'm pre-recording this and a couple of other videos for the first week of September so that I don't have to worry about putting a video up that week. I figured since I'm going to be away from this shelf for a number of months and then I'm going to be going abroad, this is the time to do it if I'm gonna do it. Otherwise it's gonna be forever till I get another chance. Anyways though, without further ado, you guys know how this works. I'm just gonna walk you through my bookshelf and what's on it. I'm not gonna explain really much of anything about the books necessarily. You can look them up. So I'm just gonna quickly show you what I have. Alright, to start off, I'm going to just show you a quick pan down of the whole shelf so you can just see the final product. And then I will go through each shelf individually with you. Alright, so first up is my top shelf, which you can see is all of my smaller, shorter books. It's not really by genre up here, it's just by height. So my tripod doesn't reach this high, so sorry, I'm going to be kind of freehanding it here. But starting at this end, we have, to start off, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. Then we have Fantasties, a Fairy Romance by George MacDonald. Then we have The Tales of Beedle the Bard by J.K. Rowling, and the other two companion novels to Harry Potter, which are, if I can get them out, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and Quidditch Through the Ages. Next up, I have the Hunger Games Tribute Guide, which is just sort of a companion thing to the movie. Next, I have The Two Princesses of Bamar by Gail Carson Levine. Next, I have Code Talkers by Joseph Brucha. Next up, I have books 1, 3, 4, and 5 from the Chronicles of Narnia. All of these books, of course, are by C.S. Lewis. Book 1 is The Magician's Nephew. Book 3 is A Horse and His Boy. Book 4 is Prince Caspian. And Book 5 is The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Next, I have this skinny little book, Indigo by Alice Hoffman, a beloved childhood book of mine. Next, I have Sapphi's Angel by Hilary McKay and Indigo's Star by Hilary McKay. Then I have Fever 1793 by Laurie Halse Anderson. Then next up is A Corner of the Universe by Anne M. Martin. Then we have So Far from the Bamboo Grove by Yoko Kamishima Watkins, who I actually got to meet, which was awesome. Next we have You Don't Know Me by David Klass. Then we have Liddy by Catherine Patterson. And then we have The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Then we have Bogus to Bubbly, An Insider's Guide to the World of Uglies by Scott Westerfeld. Next we have two books by Kevin Brooks, Candy and Being. Then we have Homecoming by Cynthia Voigt. And then we have The Giver by Lois Lowry. Next is Skellig by David Almond. Also we have A Secret Atlas by Michael A. Stackpole. Next to that we have The Heart of Muriel by Maggie Fury. Next up we have the first two books of the A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R. R. Martin, which are A Game of Thrones and A Clash of Kings. I also have the third and fourth books, but they are both currently lent out. After that we have the second book in the Maximum Ride series, School's Out Forever by James Patterson. After that we have Innocent Mage by Karen Miller. After that we have California Holiday by Kate Can. And lastly on the shelf we have When He Has Wings by Janet Lee Carey. And now we move on to shelf 2, which I can thankfully use a tripod for. So that's good, my arm was starting to hurt. The shelf is mostly paperbacks that are standalones, though there are some exceptions to the rule. So starting over here, first I have my story cubes that are just there decoratively on the shelf. It's exactly what it sounds like. You have some dice, you roll them to get a prompt for a story. They're pretty fun. The first two books though on the shelf are by Laurie Halse Anderson, and the first one is Speak, which is a fantastic book, and Catalyst. Next up we have A Mango-Shaped Space by Wendy Maas. This is one of my favorites from middle and high school. Next we have The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. I'm really not sure how to pronounce that, I'm so sorry. Next to that we have The Resurrectionist by Jack O'Connell. Then we have Just Listen by Sarah Dessen. Next to that we have The Girl in the Red Coat by Roma Ligaka. I'm not sure how to pronounce that either. Actually, let me zoom in a little bit. Can you guys see that better? Hopefully you can. Anyway, next we have a few John Green books, which of course are An Abundance of Catherines, Paper Towns, and Looking for Alaska. Next to those we have Every Day by David Levithan. And then next to that we have The Golem and the Genie by Helen Wecker. On top of those we have 4 books. The Little Locksmith by Catherine Butler Hathaway. Behind the Beautiful Forever Forevers by Catherine Boo, A Northern Light by Jennifer Donnelly, and The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Moving right along on the shelf, we have on top of all these books a picture of part of my campus, UMass Amherst. We also have The Maze Runner by James Dashner, Death Watch by Ari Burke, The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, Snowfall by K.M. Payton, I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zuzak, The Book of Dead Days by Marcus Sedgwick, also Zaytoon by Dave Eggers, Dawn by Octavia Butler, and The Book of Awesome by Neil Pasricha? I don't know. Now on to this stack of books. First of all, I have this nice little box that I believe my aunt got me while she was living in Hawaii. And then starting from the top, we have The Outcasts of 19 Schuler Place by E.L. Kongsberg. I love this book. After that, we have What My Mother Doesn't Know by Sonia Sones. After that, we have Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. Then we have Flipped by Wendelin van Dranen. After that, we have Here Today by Anne M. Martin. Next is The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funk. Next, we have the full trilogy of his Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, which are The Golden Compass, which is book 1, The Amber Spyglass, which is book 3, and The Subtle Knife, which is book 2. The next 3 books are from the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants series. These are not in order either. This is Girls in Pants, the 3rd summer of the Sisterhood, the 2nd summer of the Sisterhood, which is the 2nd book, and Forever in Blue, which is the 4th book, and these are all by Anne Brashares. The next one is Permanent Rose by Hilary McKay, which goes with Sapphi's Angel and Indigo Star. These are all the Casson family books. And last but not least in this stack is What My Girlfriend Doesn't Know by Sonia Sones, which is the sequel to What My Mother Doesn't Know. Alright, now moving on to my 3rd shelf. First over on this side is a wonderful little thing that I got on vacation. It is this tree, which is made all out of like gemstones, and it's so pretty. I absolutely adore this thing. And my speaker, which it sits on. Behind those things are a few books. First we have this massive thing, A Dance with Dragons by George R. R. Martin. This is the 5th book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. After that, I have this used copy of The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. Next we have The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. Then in this stack, we start off with Shadow on the Mountain by Margie Pruse? I'm not sure to pronounce that either. Then we have The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, which of course has a J scribble because it was, you know, the first pre-ordered ones that John signed all of them. Then we have Lies by Michael Grant, which is the 3rd book in the Gone series. The next 2 books are in the Shades of London series by Maureen Johnson, The Name of the Star, which is the 1st one, and The Madness Underneath, which is the 2nd one. Below them are the 2nd and 3rd book in the Hunger Games trilogy, Catching Fire, the 2nd one, and Mockingjay, the 3rd one, both by Suzanne Collins. And then below those 2 are the 1st and 3rd books in the Divergent trilogy, which are Divergent and Allegiant, both by Veronica Roth. I do have the 2nd one, Insurgent, but it's on my Kindle. Next up, we have The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. First one is Aragon, the 2nd is Inheritance, 3rd is Eldest, and the final one is Brisinger. Next to that, we have my Harry Potter hardcovers, which are, of course, the 5th one, The Order of the Phoenix, the 6th one, The Half-Blood Prince, and the 7th one, The Deathly Hallows. All of them, obviously, are by J.K. Rowling. Below them, we have this little rock gem thing that I also got while on vacation. At the same time, I got the gem tree, which I quite enjoy it. It makes me feel like I'm looking down into an ocean from above. And what it sits on is this little book of secrets. Now I know what you're thinking, Jackie, why on earth would you ever split up your series? Like, where are the other Harry Potters? Where's the first Hunger Games? What are you doing? Well, I know, okay? I know. I'm sorry, not sorry. It hurt to split up my series, but I wanted to have all of my hardcover series in one place at the same time. So that's how I organized the shelf, and I put the paperbacks on the next shelf. So I know it's weird to split them up. I'm sorry, but it's just the way it had to happen. Moving on down to the 4th shelf. This is mostly organized by being the paperback versions or editions of series. Starting off in this end, I have a nice little candle over here. First up, we have Hollow City by Ransom Riggs. Now, already you can tell this is an exception for this shelf. It is a hardcover. I didn't want to put it with the other hardcovers because the stack up there was starting to get too tall. So I put it down here, and I know it's not next to Miss Peregrine's. I'm sorry. It's by height. It would have looked weird. Next up, we have My Lord of the Rings Bind Up by J.R.R. Tolkien. Next to that, we have Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. Next 3 books are all from the Graceling Realms series, all by Kristen Cashore. Fire is the 1st on the timeline, but it is the 2nd book that came out. Then there is Graceling, which is 2nd on the timeline, but the 1st one to come out. And then lastly, we have Bitter Blue, which was the 3rd in the series and the 3rd to come out. After that, we have have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. Then we have the first Hunger Games book, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Moving right along here, now we have reached the rest of my Harry Potter collection, which of course are The Sorcerer's Stone, The Chamber of Secrets, The Prisoner of Azkaban, and The Goblet of Fire. Again, by J.K. Rowling, as if you didn't know that. Next up is the Pretties series by Scott Westerfeld. The first one is Uglies, the second one is Pretties, the third one is Specials, and then the companion novel is Extras. Underneath that series, we have the Gone series by Michael Grant. Book 1 is Gone, Book 2 is Hunger, Book 3 you already saw, it was Lies, and then this is Book 4, Plague. Next to that, we have the Inkheart series by Cornelia Funk. Again, I didn't have room for these hardcovers anywhere else, so this one is actually all together with both its paperback and its hardcovers. So the first one is Inkheart, next is Ink Spell, and the third one is Ink Death. And now we move down to the last shelf, the fifth one. These are all just sort of hardcovers that didn't have any other place to go, so these are the remainder of my hardbacks. First we have The Host by Stephanie Meyer. Next we have Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. Then we have The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. After that we have This Star Won't Go Out by Esther Earl and her parents Lori and Wayne Earl. Then we have Hold Still by Nina LaCour. After that we have More Than This by Patrick Ness. Next to that we have Impossible by Nancy Worlin. Then we have Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. And after that we have Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. Next three are books 2 through 4 in the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer, New Moon, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn. And finally we have this last stack, which is mostly Maximum Ride books. To start off though, we have Spirit Gate by Kate Elliott and The Last Thing I Remember by Andrew Clavin. And then we have the Maximum Ride series. First up we have The Angel Experiment, which is actually good. Then we have the third book, Saving the World and Other Extreme Sports, which is also actually good. Then we have the fourth book and the worst one in the series, The Final Warning. And then I forget what order they go in after this, but here's Fang, then Max, Angel, and then mercifully the final book, Nevermore. Alright, yeah, so that is my first shelf, the one I always film in front of. I'll just sort of briefly go over with you the other shelf that I have over here. Basically, at the top, got some stuff. Then I have a bunch of old DVDs and stuff. Below that, we have some tchotchke things like this little golf ball I got in Hawaii, and some of these like actual pieces of lava and stuff that I got in Hawaii. A bottle from Hawaii, which isn't that special, but it says Hawaii on it. Then I have a picture of me during cross-country season with one of my best friends, also named Jackie. Behind that, we have a bunch of DVDs and some other stuff and some Blu-rays and a gorgeous extended edition Lord of the Rings and some more Harry Potter. Below that we have some more actual books. Over on this side we have a couple of box sets. The first one is all of my Zelda manga, and then below that are my dad's newer copies of the Lord of the Rings plus The Hobbit, and then I have a speaker and a shell. And then a book that my friend Jackie that I just mentioned got me for a holiday or my birthday not too long ago. It's called Snapshots, and it's ways to like do creative stuff with phone photography, whoops, and stuff, so cool business. Another shell, and some classics and stuff. So we have Charlotte's Web over there. We have A Muggle's Guide to the Wizarding World, and then we have some classics. Jane Austen bind up of 3 books, and Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, and Emma. Then we have some poetry, some more poetry, Memoirs of a Hawk, another Harry Potter thing, more Harry Potter, The Magical World of Harry Potter, The Best Love Poems of Jacqueline Kennedy, The Report Card by Andrew Clements, which I believe is signed, and I got to meet him, which was cool. Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. Then we have some more poetry, It Is Daylight by Adria Collins. Yeah, and then some poems I loved as a kid, which were favorite animal poems, mythologies. Then we have some Dickens, Christmas Carol, and some other stories. Then we have a couple of my favorite classics, which is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee and The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Then we have Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. Also we have Heidi, and we have the works of Emily Dickinson, A Flower made out of tissue paper, Jubilat, which is like a publication from my school sort of thing around the Five College area with people stuff in it. What is this? 10 Things I Wish I'd Known Before I Went Out into the Real World by Maria Shriver. This adorable book, A Beginning, a Muddle, and an End by Avi. Avi is awesome, and this is such a good story about writing. I love it. Then we have The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, and we have Anne of Green Gables. Next to that, we have one of my favorite books of all time, The Little Prince. We also have The Little Lame Prince, and finally we have The Best Poems Ever. Underneath that, we have a bunch of my games. We have some 3DS games on the end here, a bunch of Xbox games, a couple of Wii games, all of my old GameCube games. I have this little puzzle thing. I have a little box full of shells, and my dad's Slim devices, or I forget what this thing does. And then below that we have some like reference-y textbook sort of things. Next to those we have a big book of Mad Libs, another little book of Mad Libs next to it, a video game guide to Pac-Man World 3, which you can't even see. And then as you can see, all these destroyed, ripped out pages. This is my Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door video game guide, which is used to pieces because I love that game. And I also have a Tolkien bestiary, which I got recently, and then two books that I absolutely loved as a child. I don't know if you guys had these two, Dragonology and Wizardology. And then next to that we have the beautiful Hyrule Historia, which is all about The Legend of Zelda, obviously. And then we got some like Where's Waldo books and stuff on the end. Now we're over in another room, and this is the last small bookshelf I have to show you. So very quickly, I'll just kind of read them off to you. These are all books that I have yet to read. So we have The Skin Map by Stephen R. Lawhead. We have Ashes of Twilight by Cassie Taylor. We have Incarceron by Catherine Fisher. We have Dust of 100 Dogs by A.S. King. We have We the Drowned by Karsten Jensen. We have Katya's World by Jonathan L. Howard. Then we have Dragon Keeper and The Garden of the Purple Dragon, which are both by Carol Wilkinson, and they're both in a series together. Next to that we have Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, and then Druid by Dan Simmons. And in the shelf below that we have Dracula and Frankenstein by Bram Stoker and Mary Shelley respectively. These are both the Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition, and they are awesome. Then we have The Lake Monsters by Joseph A. Citro and Women of the Silk by Gail Tsukiyama. And then we have the Marbinogian Tetralogy, which is the bind-up of 4 things by Evangeline Walton. And then we have The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss and The Princess Bride by William Goldman. That is it. Those are all of my bookshelves. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all of the books that I have. Thanks once again to everybody who's subscribed recently. It seriously means the world to me. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you guys like interacting with my stuff. It's great. So this has been a bookshelf tour. I am Jackie, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Oops, also forgot that I have Legend by Marie Lu. Okay, that is all the books that I have. Okay, bye.